Alright guys, a little bit smaller group than I anticipated. A lot of pieces, so I want to take stuff home. So everyone watching online, today we have George Berg here. He's an amazing surf photographer. He shoots for Surfline. He shoots a lot of fine art, surfing as well. Puts a lot of the stuff up on Instagram. Definitely check him out. And until that, I'm going to hand you off to George and let him do his spiel. He's going to talk about in-water photography and how to shoot surfing. So, go ahead, man.
Excellent. Hello, everyone, online people as well. So, welcome to Samy's, and this will be a presentation on underwater photography and preparation to actually get in the water with the type of housing that you choose. I shoot for Surfline, local pro. It is basically a company that enables you to take the images you get and post them online for people to purchase or companies to purchase if they want to use it for an ad. I'm based out of El Segundo, California. The frequent breaks that I shoot are Venice, Malibu, and El Porto, which is fairly close to where I live. I've been shooting surf for about 4 years and in the water as well. This is an overview of what I'll be discussing throughout the presentation. Fitness, because it's very important to be fit as you're going to enter the water and it's a live circumstance in nature. You need to be prepared physically for it, which will also lead you to get mentally prepared too. I'll go over safety and how to progress as you develop and get more confident in the water. I'll talk about ocean awareness, just since it is a live environment, you need to be aware and it'll enable you to get better shots. The type of gear I have, I shoot with SPL, but I also have used the Aquatech housing, so I'll be able to talk about both of those. Any advice that I feel that I've learned through being in the water for quite a while, and I'll be able to deliver that. And then also ocean etiquette, just because you'll run into other people in the water and you want to make sure that you get the shot you want and the person who you're shooting doesn't cause conflict. And then at the end there will be question and answer. If you guys have a question, feel free to ask. So beginning, fitness is very important while being in the ocean and prepping for being in the ocean. I would highly recommend getting fins if you're in the water, just because it enables you to stay in the water a lot longer and swim with more ease, and it's easier to duck dive under the big waves when they're coming. And also get very familiar with your gear, because the more familiar you are with the muscle movements of using the fins will make it all the more easy actually in the ocean. And so I would advise swimming with your fins in a pool of sorts, just again to reiterate. Ocean safety. If you're getting into the ocean, absolutely get fins. It'll make your experience in the water all the more easy, and you'll feel infinitely more safe if big waves come and you need to like duck under it, and it basically will up your stamina if you're in the water. And then also, if you're going to shoot surf photography in particular, I would highly advise getting a helmet, because you never know whether a board's going to hit you. I have been hit multiple times, and the helmet has absolutely saved me from medical bills and trips to the hospital. Ocean awareness. As you see, this is me using the wide-angle dome port. And I feel that positioning while you're in the water is a very important aspect of ocean photography. As you see, this is with my wide-angle dome, but the range between the two of us isn't that great. But it'll allow you to basically catch the surfer as he's coming along the side, and you'll get that nice crest shot of the person coming at you. And the other thing too, while shooting, and positioning is very important, because waves are coming in, they're rolling in sets, so you need to be in front of all the waves that are breaking. And so the surfer will take off and come towards you, and then as you take the camera housing, I'll use an example, you'll have the camera housing, and you'll have to do a pan, which is something that you figure out throughout time in the water. Well, you'll take the camera, follow the surfer, do the pan, and then pull into yourself and duck into the wave, which will allow you to get, again, the crest over the top shot, but also avoid you running into the individual who's on the surfboard, ruining their day and possibly your shot or causing conflict again. This again was shot by a land photographer, and then this is the follow-up image of that exact moment. This is all the gear that I shoot with. The SPL water housing setup, Canon 5D Mark III, the 24mm lens, 35mm lens, 85mm, and the wide-angle lens. With the gear, it's all about the condition and the type of condition you're getting into and knowing what type of lens is going to best accurately give you the image you want. So on smaller days, you go with the 24 because the surfers will be able to get infinitely closer to you, and possibly even the dome because they'll be able to get right up next to you and you'll be able to get that really wide angle nice shot. The 35 is the standard frame rate for film and just for normal photography. And I feel that that one is, again, good for days that are like 2 to 3, possibly 5 feet. And you're going to get a lot more edge to the wave, and then also you're going to get a really nice shot of the surfer coming at you. The 85mm, which is one of my favorite lenses to shoot with, is actually designed as a portrait lens. So it's incredibly crisp, but it allows you to keep a very big distance between you and the surfer coming at you. So on days that are exceptionally big, that's the day that you're gonna wanna use the 85mm because you'll be outside of where all the waves are breaking, and you'll be able to shoot into it and get the really crisp image of the surfer coming down the line without actually getting into the mess of the waves crashing. Ocean prep. As you see, there are watermarks. You can shoot the most amazing image of Kelly Slater coming in on a tube, and a watermark will absolutely destroy that. A way to avoid that is by using Rain-X on the external aspect of the housing. If you apply it to here, it'll allow for water droplets to form and just roll off. You can also spit onto this point and rub it in as you're in the water, and then it'll also enable the water droplets to fall off with ease. Always double check your housing. Check it yourself, have someone else check it, make sure all of the latches are pressed, all of the screws are tightened, because if it's not, there's a chance that your water housing will flood. It's happened to me, it's happened to Brian Billman, it's happened to almost any water photographer. So just be aware of it and check and prepare that that is a possibility for that. The other aspect that you should take care of is lubing the O-ring of the housing. That is on the internal part of the housing, and you'll need to lube this because then it creates a little added pressure between the block of the housing and the port, which will again make it easier so there's not water leakage. And then now I can give examples of the style of the shot that you could potentially get with different lenses in the water. This here is shot in El Porto, California. It's right off of El Segundo, and it's used with the 85mm lens, and this is probably on a day that the waves were around 4 to 5 feet, maybe 6, the occasional 6. With this, I was outside of the lineup. As you see, you can pay attention to the little curve along right here, how it's super shallow, and then how the surfer coming in is incredibly crisp. That's achieved with the 85mm lens because it allows you to be outside and still get that really crisp, nice image. It's also, again, a safety precaution. So if you're uncomfortable with the wave height and size, you can absolutely change to the 85 to create the distance between you and the surfer. This is shot with the 35mm lens. Again, as you can see, it's a little bit wider in the frame and you're closer into the surfer. With it, again, I was talking about how you can pan and catch the surfer and sink into the wave. This is a good example of that. He's coming around the side, I'm sinking into the wave, and I managed to catch him with this amazing expression as he zoomed past. This image here is an example of the dome port. This is catching the wave cresting over the top of me, and you can also see the horizon in the background. This image with the dome port right here, it encompasses a lot more surface area, and while this also allows for the under-over shots that people really love with surf photography, where you can see the underwater life and then the surfer coming at you, or the landscape above, however you choose to shoot the shot. All right. Advice for being in the ocean. Absolutely go out with friends and people you know. Someone that like is looking out for you, and you're like able to say, they know where I'm at, I know where I'm at. The people I go out with, we have hand signals so that we remain safe in the water. Thumbs up means I'm good to go if they see me go over a wave. Thumbs up means don't worry about me, it's okay. Thumbs to the side, I just got hit by a big wave, maybe keep an eye on me, pay attention to where I'm at. Thumbs down means I got hit by a wave, I need help getting in, or something to that degree. Figure out some form of language with that with the people around you, because if you're not safe in the water, it's greater risk to getting injured, and you also will want to be at ease when you're in the water. So this form of communication will help. Watch for outside sets. When outside sets, basically, if you're not familiar with what an outside set is in surf language, you're thinking, oh, it's 2 to 3. Surfline said it's 2 to 3, I'm really good to go. You show up in the set, you're shooting the 2 to 3 waves, and then out of nowhere, the 5-foot big wave rolls in for the day. And you need to be aware of this, because if you're accustomed to 2 to 3 and figuring out how to maneuver within those type of conditions, and then a bigger wave rolls through, you need to know how to adapt to that current live situation, whether it's moving in closer to the shore break or whether it's ducking underneath the wave at a different pace. Remember, you're shooting in the ocean, and there is people in the ocean and there's sea life in the ocean, so always pay attention. I was lining up a shot of a surfer a while ago, and he was coming down the line at me, and I got the shot and I turned to my left, and there was a sea lion that popped up, and it scared me half to death. But you need to be aware of everything around you, because you don't want to overreact and, have another incident, should I say. And again, you are the guest. Always check conditions of the waves, because that'll enable you to feel more comfortable, and you'll know whether or not the waves are 5 feet, okay, I really need to be prepared and eat a bigger breakfast, or it's a smaller set so I can bring the wide dome port and I'm going to get some really good action shots for whatever it may be that you're trying to shoot. Ocean etiquette. Again, confidence and awareness will enable you to have the most successful time in the water. Again, as you see the surfers coming down the line, surfers trying to make it over the side of the wave, and with this type of situation, again, you need to just be direct with anyone who approaches you in the water, and also be friendly. So if someone comes up to you and they're like, oh my God, I almost ran into you, are you okay? You say, yes, absolutely, I have my helmet, I have my fins, I'm okay. And just reassure them, because it'll make the surfing location all the more easy to get good images, have a good day, and then ultimately just enjoy the full-on experience of being in the water. And again, positioning, I can't reiterate enough how positioning will enable you to get the shot you want, be the most confident person in the water, and also just avoid conflict. Because again, if you're more confident with your own movements and where you are in space, it'll enable you to get the shot and not have any issues and have a pleasant day. Right now, I'm going to go over editing processes and show you a little bit of how to work with images to get it to where you want it to be. This image here is shot around sunset. It's shot with my 85mm lens, absolutely raw image, nothing has been done to it. What you can do is, again, just try and determine how you yourself edit. Is it with Lightroom? Is it with Photoshop? I've always used Photoshop. With this one, I chose to again, bring up the saturation on it to really show that element of the evening and the sunlight and the sunset, and try and really catch that glow of what the ocean was looking like. You can also increase sharpness and just take the image anywhere you'd like to go. Here's another example of that. This was just, again, a very simple tube shot from a bigger day in the ocean. And then with editing and post-production, you're able to take it to a completely different image. This image here was the very first day I was ever in the water. I had not shot with housing, I had only shot from land a little bit. And the underwater camera I was using was the Nikon Coolpix underwater camera. And as you see, again, very standard point and shoot type image. I would have to say though, it's talking about how it's important to go out with the people who you know to provide safety. I've never missed a day without him, and I've never missed a day without him. They watch my back, and it makes you more confident. That's something I'd have to reiterate, is that the more confident you feel in the water, the better your images are going to get, and the better you're going to feel. This particular day, I went out on a longboard shooting, thinking, oh, I'll have something to hang on to. It'll feel great, like I'll be able to just shoot these amazing images. This is before I had any idea about fins, helmet, like how to be an appropriate swimmer, duck diving. So I'm sitting in the water on this longboard trying to snap these images, and all the while I'm like, oh man, I'm getting hit by waves. I have to hang on to this longboard, like what is going on? So it completely took me out of my element, and I felt like this is way too heavy for me, I need to take a break. So then I transitioned to land photography. This here is shot with film. I feel like shooting with film enables a lot of different circumstances to arise, where it really forces you to focus on what you're looking at. And when you're focused on what you're looking at, you're able to say, that's the shot. That's not the shot. Maybe not, you know, and really kind of hone in on what you're trying to get at. As you see, this image was closer to 4 or 5 o'clock in the late afternoon. And of course, this is with film, so I was being a little more experimental and exposed it to light. In doing so, by shooting with land, it allows you to really hone in and focus and come to a conclusion about how seriously you want to take it with surf photography or any type. But again, just the ability to explore new mediums so that you can really determine what's the next step. But then, after all the land photography and all the determining how I felt about going through the falls of the water and the wave, I chose to get back in. This is the shot of my friend who you saw in the water, and he's coming down the line at me. This is one of the very first images I actually got that, in my opinion, was a success. And that's what you want to do when you're in the water, is get those images that feel like that leveled me up. I am now closer to the type of photographer I want to be. And this was it for me. This was the end-all be-all for me. I was like, this is where I want to go. This is why I want to keep getting in the water. And those are the type of moments you want to have in the water. And again, all of the stuff I previously said about safety, preparation, and fitness, and all of it will allow you to get to that point. Right now, I'll begin going over my portfolio, but first I actually filmed a video of me in the water so that you guys get an idea of what it's like to be in the water and what my process is. All right. And then here are some images. If you guys have any questions about the image as I go through, feel free to ask, and I'd be happy to answer anything I can. This one was shot at El Porto with the 85mm lens. As you see, with the 85, you're able to pick up a lot more detail in the board just because, again, of how sharp and crisp, because it is a portrait lens. So it's good to experiment with that type of stuff. This one here was shot at Venice. Again, you're able to see he's coming down the line of the wave, and then the wave's carrying him on, and you're able to catch him just as he's passing by. But again, you create the ability to get this shot with that sinking in movement that I discussed earlier, and just paying attention to your surroundings. This image here is shot at El Porto, and it's a wave rolling through. You can really pay attention to the nature shots when you're in the water, because it's not just like about surf photography or the action shot. You can really kind of capture what's those amazing moments in nature, and like the movement and the just overall greatness of I guess our planet. Here is an image of shot with an 85mm lens of a surfer coming along the line. This photo was shot in Venice, California. It was actually one of the first shots I got of two people on the same wave. And of course they were, as you see, completely excited that someone was in the water shooting. Which again too, it's like it enables you to make friends if you're in the water and you are interacting and being social. This here was a recent image that I got a week ago. This particular surfer I go out with all the time. The one issue I have with him is he's an incredibly aggressive surfer. So when he takes off on a wave, he's like charging in, and you need to keep your distance. So I absolutely refuse to shoot him unless I have the 85mm lens on so I can keep my distance. And again, that's like the preventative measure so that you're not getting injured, but you're still trying to get the shot you want to get. This image was, again, as you see, a larger day in California. This was El Porto. Wave size is probably 5-6 feet. But also, again, pay attention to light, because light will enable you to kind of create a different type of shot. And again, it's like, since we're talking about photography, you need light to even create an image. So again, just if you're able to add elements of light just that's available, it could create a different type of reaction to the image that you're shooting. This photo is of a local kid in El Porto, and it was actually one of the first shots I got of someone coming towards me. But again, the fascinating aspect is that you're still able to capture the expression of the individual. Because even though it's sports photography, you want to really create an element where you're capturing part of the person's personality and a part of like how intense they take it, and that feeling of like, I chose this and I'm going after it, and just bear witness. This image, again, like I was talking about the range and the distance, was shot in Waikiki, and it was of a paddleboarder who was just taking her time coming in from the water. Again, with the distance, you can use blur to your benefit, or use it to like add more feeling to your image and create that sensation of like timelessness and the feeling, like create like more of a glow behind the individual. This image was shot with the 85mm, again, just to show how crisp and tight you can actually get into the wave. And again, show the force behind the movement and the force behind the wave and the element with just the overall grandness of the water. This image, again, as I was saying, you can capture the person's intent and their expression. I feel that a very big part of physicality is that movement shows your intent. Whether it's like, I'm being explosive, this is a direct aspect of my like person and being, and like that focus to just push forward and push on. And again, I feel like in surf photography, you can, if you're positioned right and you have the proper gear set up, you can actually capture that feeling and that sensation of the athlete and just say, that kid's in it, he's just doing exactly what he needs to do, he's where he needs to be, and just create that feeling behind the work. I normally shoot horizontal. It's just like the easiest frame size for me. I almost never tilt the camera to shoot vertical shots. The one time I did, I actually got a pretty cool image. This was not shot with my dome port, it was shot with the 35mm, but I just flipped the camera real quick. And again, as I was saying, you can really utilize the light to create a lot more feeling behind the image of the paddleboarder above. As I got more comfortable in the water, of course, as if you pick up housing, you'll realize now's the time to upgrade. Now's the time to really like go from shooting 35 port to a wide angle port. And I eventually hit this point. I was in the water for almost a year and a half before I decided to like pick up the dome port and start pursuing that angle. The reason I was also very shy about picking up the dome port is because with it, you need to be, again, infinitely closer to your subject to create them in the full frame. And of course, there's more risk for injury and conflict in the water the closer you are. But eventually, I picked up the dome port, and this was one of the first under-over shots I was able to get. It's again of the wave crashing over the top, and you can see the glassy side, and thankfully there is no shark on the other side of that. Again, with the whole process of framing your shots, I would always advise at least having an idea of photography overall, just like framing and composition, and just like this is the type of image I'm going for, just to kind of force yourself to just think about what you see differently in the water, you know, rather than just saying, I want to get the tube shot, I want to get the surfer mag shot, I want to get, you know, Kelly Slater coming down the line at pipe, or whatever it may be. Like, if you position it so you can actually try and tell a story with the image, it creates a lot more narrative and kind of shifts the direction of the image away from the sports action to, again, more of a narrative to photography. And this would be an example. I was, again, just like hanging out in the lineup, and the kid went right in front of me. And again, which of course could create conflict, but I was like, take the photo. And again, as you see, it creates a little bit more narrative because he's watching the surfer take off down the line, which again is a different angle of that. The follow-up to this, this same child who goes, or kid, I guess, who goes in front of me, almost killed me. I did not have a helmet. This is before I picked it up, but this was the exact moment in my photography career that I chose to get the helmet. After this time, he went over me, landed right next to me, was super excited that he landed the air, and he said, "Oh my God, did you see that?" And I'm like, "Boy, did I. Like, you almost killed me." And immediately after, he's like, "Did you get the image? Did you get the image?" And I said, "Well, I just won't know until I get home and unlock my housing." And I get home and I'm presented with this, and of course I had to email it to the kid and let him know that I was all right and that he was an amazing surfer. This here is again like an example of the under-over type of photography, and also again how to utilize light. I shot this one actually with the 24mm lens as opposed to the under-over port, but as you can see, this little shallowness of light or of the wave is actually just a nice little element as opposed to just the direct through. But it creates, like, again, a lot more area for your eye to kind of travel throughout the image, which again I feel is pretty important with nature photography, surf photography, is just try and make it as like versatile as you can. This here is a good example of what the dome port can do. This was, again, one of the first times I had taken it out, but I finally caught that moment when the wave's going over the top and the surfer's taking off down the line. This image here was shot, again, with the 85mm lens with the high crispness of it. And again, you can kind of really get the sensation and the reaction of the individual by using a portrait lens while shooting surf. Because again, too, it's like it's a 3-foot wave, yet he thinks he's going to get barreled. So this here was the very first image I ever caught of a tube, and I was incredibly proud of myself and felt like I just that was a leveling up point. And any one of you who decide to do surf photography, underwater photography, will hit those photos that you're able to say, that one just took me to the next level. I now feel like I can have progressed, and this was absolutely one of them for me. This image here was shot in Waimea Bay. You can also see it's, again, slightly under over, but it captures all the majestics of Hawaii. Or not all, but aspects of Hawaii that would be majestic. You can also use these housings for scuba diving and getting shots of just underwater life. And this would be an example of that. Again, too, using light is an amazing way to get a lot of emotion into these images. And this here, again, like, I'm not going to say I know exactly the mechanics of it, but in theory, what occurs to me is if I was under the water shooting up at the light coming through, it creates this type of reflection that will give you something nice and soft to this degree. And if anyone has questions and answers, now would be the time.
What do you like about the Aquatech?
Aquatech I absolutely loved because of the latch system. Again, with this type of setup, it has latches. Every single housing system has a different type of ways to set up the back and take it apart. This here, as you see, you can undo the latches and remove this, drop the camera in with whatever port you decide, and again, latch it to secure the camera housing. I really think that Aquatech did a fantastic job with the making of this. It feels incredibly stable and secure, and with it, you can actually see how flush it is so that there's very low chance of leakage, almost none. And again, it just feels incredibly sturdy in your hand. I also love that they have the pistol grip option and this as well. While shooting, a lot of the time, depending on the wave size, a lot of surfers will just hold the camera up like this and sink into the wave to the side because it'll enable them to get the height of the wave plus the surfer. A lot of the time in the water, I prefer to shoot from this because you can actually look through the eye hole of the camera and line up the type of shot you want to get and feel all the more secure. Like, I saw the shutter fire, that photo exists, I'm awesome. So, yeah, I absolutely thought that was a fantastic option. And again, this is with the dome port on the Aquatech housing, which again will enable you to get more of the under-over shots. And again, those really fantastic over-the-top tube shots.
What camera do you use?
I use the Canon 5D Mark III.
Where's the trigger and the SPL? Is it on your right side?
On the SPL, you actually have two different types of triggers. You have the button on the bottom, which will enable you to click away, and then it also has one on the side, so you can also hold from again, like a camera movement if you're filming or to do pans. This is primarily the point that I'll go from, just so you can see, and then you can flip the switch and then it'll start firing, and then if you want it to stop firing, you flick it forward. So
do you find when you're out in the surf, I mean, you surf, right?
honestly, I surfed a little bit and I wasn't the best at it, so I transitioned to surf photography.
Perfect. But as far as like sort of like snaking a wave, is there a little bit of that like, hey, I just took off and you're jamming the camera in my face? Is there a little bit of that?
Absolutely. Every time, like every single wave is different and every single surfer has a different attitude about it, especially in LA where everyone's somebody, you know. So if someone's taking off on a wave, you don't know whether they're a movie producer or if they're just some dude who likes surfing, you know. So again, it's like kind of just always try and be friendly, because I mean the amount of times that I've been like lining up to shoot something and then someone's like, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? Then I'm saying I am shooting surf photos. They are for my portfolio, and then occasionally you have to throw Surfline into it so they feel like there's more importance to the image, you know. So I'm like, oh, I'm a Surfline photographer. Then they're like, whoa, like mind blown. Like, where's this gonna be? How am I gonna see it? Where can I like get the image? And I'm like, go check out my site. It's on Surfline Local Pro. You can find it under here. And then it makes the conversation all the more easy. But yeah, you can absolutely run into conflict. And the hard part is I have been hit multiple times before, like when I had the helmet on. And again, I was surfing with one of my friends and he took off on a wave. Someone took off right next to him. They collided and I happened to be in the middle where both of their boards hit. And so they like, and again, my friend is one of the nicest guys in the world, wouldn't start a fight with anybody trying to start a fight with him. And he just like collectively looks at me, he's like, are you okay? And I was, yes, I'm fine, like I'm okay. And the guy starts getting irate. He's like, get off my wave, this is that and this is that. I'm just like, guys, I'm fine, like the helmet saved me, I'm good to go. And also again, the housing, not only is it good for protecting from the leakage of the water, but it's amazing for protecting the camera so that if a board or something were to come in to hit the housing, it's safe.
How do you decide where you want to position yourself?
Okay, awesome. On this one, when I'm positioning to shoot a shot, you basically need to be able to read the waves and be able to see what's coming in, how big it is, and kind of gauge how comfortable you are in the water. So with trying to decide with the positioning of it, on a day that's 2 to 3, I'm usually at a diagonal. Diagonals will enable you to get the shot. So if you see someone coming down the line, you gotta focus on the person and like that's the dude I'm trying to get the image of. He's the image, I'm gonna get that one. And just know it in your head and just say, this is the shot I want, and I'm going after that guy. And then again, as you see them coming, you need to be able to be panning back to the side. So again, it's not just a photography motion, it's also kind of a film camera motion where you're lining up the shot and watching them come in along the side. And then in doing that, it's going to enable you to kind of be in the right spot, so when the wave pushes them forward, they land right in front of you, so you can get that over the head shot of them in it, or along the side depending on the wave condition.
Have you seen, so you mentioned you use Rain-X for keeping the front port clean?
Yes.
Have you seen that have any effect on the port, or is it, I mean...
Honestly, no. The best part about Rain-X, and again, this is something I did a lot of research on after I picked up like the first couple images, and I was like, oh man, that would have been an absolutely perfect shot, but there's splotches on it. So again, like any other individual who's in this day and age, I went on YouTube and was like, how do I fix this? And they were saying, again, on the SPL site, you can either use spit, which is like an immediate reaction if you're noticing it in the water, is spit on the front of the port, and then wipe it off with your hand, and then it'll create that little layer of film which will allow you to get the shot. But then also with Rain-X, it's used for primarily keeping your windshield clean, but when I found out that it had that same effect of creating the film, I chose to use that. So then what I'll do is I'll use about 2 to 3 coats of it before I actually get in the water, but you'll see as it dries, it creates the film with their little bubbles on the front of it. So you'll do one layer and then let it sit for maybe under a minute, 30 seconds give or take. Do another one like maybe the different direction, and then let it sit for a minute, and then if you feel like you absolutely need a third one, do it just because it doesn't hurt. And then hop in the water and you're good to go.
Do you have to, when you get out, do you have to wash it off or anything, or you just leave it?
No, what you could do is, because again, you're supposed to clean the housings after you get out of the water with them, just to get all the salt residue off, just so that there's no deterioration on the housing. So then the Rain-X will wash off of the front of the dome port, or any type of port you're using, if you just run it under cold water and just wipe it down with a towel.
Okay, now I've heard a couple weird ones, like a potato and stuff like that. Ways to keep, have you tried other than Rain-X? Because I'd like, want to make a video on this one.
Honestly, the only other one that I heard that was interesting was candle wax, where you could actually go find like a normal white regular candle and scratch line marks in it, like how you would wax a surfboard, obviously enough. So then you would just do slashes across it and then polish it in with just like, again, a towel, and it'll create just that little layer of film that'll allow the beads to form and then droplet off. Yes?
Actually, we use mask defogger. So right on the handle of my, like right on my leash,
Yeah.
cut interior tube.
Uh-huh.
If you go to like Sephora, they give you this like sample perfume, like the little sprayer kit.
Yeah.
I put a defogger on that one.
Yeah.
And I put it right onto the inner tube, right on my leash. Or sometimes I put it insert in my wetsuit.
Oh, and just carry it with you.
In the water.
Yeah.
So before getting the water, I just use the defogger. And
Yeah.
it coats the whole, but it comes off.
Oh.
Right? So then I just take it out again, and because I tried licking it and I got hit by wave.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to do something too like just trying to lick this.
Yeah, definitely. You got to be careful with that.
So the mask defogger really works.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
didn't have a problem.
Cool.
Trying applying that, and you can spray as many as you can. It won't. The water, you can see the water just kind of slides.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's exactly what you want too. Cool.
You ever been taken over the falls while?
Oh man, yes. The answer is absolutely yes. And the thing is too, the first time is absolutely terrifying. Second time you're like, that was my fault. And you also have to acknowledge that the ocean is incredibly humbling. Like you could think you're the coolest person in the world. You go over the falls, you're like, okay, I understand, I'm human, you know? And so one of the very first days I was out in the water on, like, again, in my recollection, one of the biggest days I've been out, which has probably been 8 feet. And we went out, and I remember saying to one of my buddies who I'm out all the time, I'm like, that was one of the biggest days ever. But I was trying to come in. I was like, okay, cool. I shot my clip out. I'm good to go. And by clip, I mean the memory card. I usually have 2 of them in there, but if you're in the water long enough, you will eventually shoot your clip out. So my clip was completely filled with images. I was trying to make my way back in. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm super pumped. I'm super stoked. Biggest day yet. I've made it in. Like, waves look like there's 8 feet from where I'm at, but they're probably 5 feet. So I'm going in, and a wave hits me, and I go over the falls, and just like head into the sand, legs over. I don't do yoga, I do powerlifting. I'm not that flexible. So my legs go over the top, and I basically do a somersault, and like basically headstand to somersault. And I got out, and I was just like, oh damn, like my back was like super wrenched out and shot. I walk up the beach, and I just like man, like, okay, it's cool that I can like lift 600 pounds, but the ocean's always gonna win. And that's a very valid point, which is the ocean is always gonna win. You know, it's gonna be very humbling, and it'll be a great experience for you, but you just need to be prepared for anything that'll happen. And again too, it's like, since that time, it was one of those learning experiences that you're gonna get when you're actually in the water, and you're like, okay, cool, how I react in the water will enable me to just feel more comfortable with the choices I'm making out there. So if you go over the falls and you're in the tube or whatever, and you're calm, you're just like, okay, I know how this goes. I'm gonna go over the washing machine and then come up and I'll be fine. Or if you get thrown around like Gumby underwater, you're gonna get up and you're like, okay, maybe I need to do more flexibility stuff so when this happens again, I'm prepared. Yeah.
I know, nice.
Do you shoot in the morning or in the afternoon?
I shoot both.
It does. It's top 3 spots.
Top 3 spots.
That's what it was.
I mostly shoot in the mornings, because that is, and again too, the people I end up going out with is like the top 3 people. They're absolutely religious about the time of day they go and the spots they go to, and they are not flexible at all. They're like, it is El Porto, it is 8 o'clock, if you are late, we're going in without you. And that's how it is. And then occasionally, if the sets at El Porto are big enough, they'll go up to Malibu or Sunset Beach, just because again, with the ways that the ocean are, the bigger it is down south, it'll also be big north, which again will create a longer line, so you can actually post up, and it's a point break, which is nice because it originates from one spot, so you can just pick an area and be like, I'm getting the best framing here, and just sit there and flutter your fins and shoot away and get hundreds of great shots and go in and be ready to email Surfer Mag. So.
How did you start working with Surfer Mag? What was that like?
Oh, with Surfline?
Oh, Surfline.
Surfline. Okay, if I was working with Surfer Mag, no, with exactly, totally different type of setup. But no, with Surfline, what happened? I actually was super against like the social media marketing, because first of all, I just didn't understand it, and second of all, I was like, oh man, you want me to post again? Why am I posting all the time? What is this even doing for me? And my girlfriend was just giving me a hard time. She was like, George, you got so much amazing stuff. Like, you got to get your work out there. You got to show people what you're capable of. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, how do I do that? And she's like, create an Instagram account. And I'm like, oh, Instagram? I don't want to do that. That sounds so lame, you know? And she's like, no, you got to do it. Like, I swear, like, you'll get such a like huge kick out of it. You just put a post up every now and again, and people start seeing your work. And so I was like, all right, I'll listen, you know? And created the account, and then within about 6 months or so, was just shooting, and again building the following, and again it's like you just have to be religious about it, and constantly, oh, it's 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, I got to throw up another image and see how that goes, and I just kept at it, and then lo and behold, come home one day. And I was training or whatever, came home, and I was just checking my emails, and I had an email from Surfline, and they were like, hey, George, we found your Instagram account. So all thanks goes to my girlfriend for creating the account.
There you go.
And so just that moment right there, I was like, oh my God, the social marketing, like the social media, like all this online stuff, it works. It's fantastic. Like, you create a bigger following and it pushes you to the next level. And you just, again, have more people to see your work and be able to share more knowledge. And again, too, that's a very big aspect of it. But got the email from Surfline, and they're like, we love your work. We'd love for you to shoot under our local pros. And I was like, okay, excellent. Like, how do you set that up? How does it work? So they then said, we set you up this page where you basically, again, like Facebook, like all these websites where you just upload, you like shoot a session, or the way I do it, the way I shoot these albums is I will basically go out for maybe 4 or 5 sessions in the water and try and accumulate around 40 images. Because on the website, it'll also enable you to sell your prints and sell your images. So if Billabong is like, oh, that's an amazing image of El Porto, or that's an amazing image of the wedge, we want to use that, they can go in there and see the image and pick it. Or if I just shoot a normal surfer in Malibu and they're like, that's an amazing image, where can I get it? You can also direct traffic to there so that they can have easy access to your prints, and you don't have to say, oh, well, wait a minute, which surfer are you? Like, I've shot a ton. And you can like have the image up so they can go find it and go take it from there. And so it's a really easy setup. And yeah, so I've been shooting for them for about a year.
Nice. Do you have to get like bottle releases and stuff like that for some of the other guys?
Honestly, I don't really bother with the model releases in the water. Again, it's like if you're shooting a campaign for a clothing line or an ad or a specific model who's like, I need images for whatever aspect it is, then you would have to get the model release. But if it's just an individual in the water, I always go by the standard, I shot it, it's mine. So it's like, no, I mean, to be honest, like you always have to deal with that, but I always kind of feel like the more confident and direct you are with people, whereas like I'm fully, totally excited about giving you the image, but it's my image, so if you would like it, here, but I was the one who shot it, so there's your, you know, glorious tube shot, you know, so. Mm-hmm.
What recommendations do you have for people that want to get into in-water photography, haven't done it before?
People who want to get into underwater photography and who have not done it before, I would say, first of all, do your research. That is the most important aspect, again, just with any form of photography. If you want to be amazing at fashion, research fashion photography. If you want to be amazing at food, research food photography. Like, really dig in and try and find out what's available and find out what you need to be doing to kind of push that along. Again, from my stance, if you want to do ocean photography, figure out the types of images you want to get. Are they surf images? Are they underwater images? Like, what's the angle that you're trying to approach it from? And then also, try and think about like your own how comfortable you are in the water. Do you need to practice in the pool for a little while? That's what I did. Before I got in the ocean, I swam laps every single morning for about 3 months before I said, okay, I kind of think that my ankles understand the motion of the flippers, so now I'm ready to get in the ocean, you know? But just kind of take it at your own pace and try, like, don't be afraid to explore at your own rate, because then you'll make it to where the individual wants to go.
Have you ever wanted to take it out of the ocean, like let's say like river rafting competitions or anything? Or
honestly, I think about that a fair amount. I think it would be very interesting to do that. The only thing is I would be completely dependent on the leash. Because with that, again, like as cool as that would be, I feel that again, with that, you again want to alleviate the worry of whatever live situation you're in regarding the water. So if you're on the rapids, I would absolutely love to do it. It's just that I would want to like make sure that I was strapped in and the camera was strapped in, so that everything was good to go to get the type of image. But yeah, that would be really cool to do.
Why surfing?
Why surfing? Okay, well, I grew up in Chicago. Absolutely ridiculous city. You either love it or hate it. It's one or the other. I, as a child, hated it because of how cold it was. And my brother, who is here tonight, showed me Point Break when I was 5 years old. Again, as cheesy as it sounds, because everyone's like, oh, Point Break, that's not a surfing movie. Like, you're ridiculous. What a kook of the day, you know. And for me, I was like, no, like bank robbing surfers, that is it. That is like the coolest thing I've ever seen, you know. And from that on, I, again, just thought the imagery of the surfing was just so, like, I was taken aback by it. And again, like, I was a kid walking around the mall and I see Surfer Magazine, or again, the one that I cannot speak more highly of was Trans World Surf. And the primary photographer for that is Brian Billman, who is above and beyond my all-time favorite surf photographer. He makes my work just look like I'm trying, you know. And absolutely blown away by his images. But when I was in high school and when I was in college, I would collect these surfer magazines, and my friends who were from Chicago, who were like, go Bears, go Cubs, you know, would be like, what's this fascination with surfing? Like, you're from Chicago, you're ridiculous, what's the point? You know, like, you have Lake Michigan, what is this, you know? And I would just be like, you just don't get it, like the power behind the wave and the surfer, and I'm like trying to explain it to me, and they're just like, you don't make any sense, you know? And I, again, just like would litter my walls with surf imagery, and so it was always like around, and people who would come into my room would be like, well, it's ridiculous you're into it because you're in Chicago, but at the same time, being in this image-filled room makes me feel like I'm in a wave, and like that is what really drew me to surf photography, is that sensation and feeling. And like, yes, I understand that you can get lost in an image and be like, wow, that just catapulted me to Italy, that one took me to Bali, whatever. It's like that feeling of like the motion in the image, and like, again, capturing the rivalries in Trans World Surf between Kelly Slater and Andy Irons was one of the most magnificent periods of time regarding surf as far as I'm concerned. Like, I was blown away in college, and I would try and have these conversations with my friends, and they'd be like, yeah, so the Bears won, and I'd be like, yeah, but like Andy Irons is just like, he like smoked Kelly, he got 3 wins in a row, oh my goodness, you know. And they'd just be like, huh? So again, it's like, it just became like the photography is what became the passion, and then I tried surfing, and then it went back to the photography, which is like the most important aspect for me, and it's how I've just kind of came into my own as a photographer. Yes. Absolutely. I understand that people don't do it, but if you are willing to drop $5,000 on a setup, get some form of insurance. If you don't have it, you will regret it, because your housing is going to flood. It's just going to happen once or twice. Probably not twice, but it has happened to people, and you need to just have your bases covered, you know. So I actually flooded my housing, and it was just a fluke accident because I was attempting to shoot with the dome port when I had first picked it up, and I was like, awesome, the dome port, I'm gonna go get some good images. And since the way it is placed on, this here is my lens, the port for the 85mm. So as you see, it covers where all the screws are when you place it on. So you have to be meticulous about putting on the screws and making sure you cover every single notch. I, of course, was so excited. Oh my God, like dome shots, I can't wait to get out, that I missed a screw. And I went in the water, housing got flooded, and of course, your first response is, oh, like, you charge up the beach and you're like completely demoralized. I just ruined my $5,000 camera and my setup and like all of this. But if you have the coverage, which I highly advise anyone doing water photography to get coverage. Do it, you're gonna love it, you're gonna thank me one day, you're gonna follow me on Instagram and be like, dude, you just saved me. So get some form of it, because if it happens, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I'm so pissed that I did this. How could I be so forgetful? But then on the other side of that, you're gonna be like, oh wait, State Farm was there. Like, I got that covered. I'm so stoked. Like, and then the ease, you can focus more on the imagery again, not on the dilemma of like, oh man, I just flooded my expensive camera.
By the way, did you get the camera at a store?
I did.
It covers water damage. If we get the warranty.
Oh yes. Okay, excellent. So pick up a warranty as well.
Somebody yesterday went to Fiji.
Yeah.
Shot. They were awesome. They were super excited. They went to close the house, but the guy got really excited and didn't.
Excitement will kill you.
Dive master just chucks in the water.
Yeah.
He comes back with a big smile on his face. So where's my new camera?
Yeah, absolutely.
No problem. You got a new camera. It's all done.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, I think that's. Any other questions?
Are you doing this full time?
Yeah, honestly, yes. Right now, since the issue with me is about more water safety, so I'll only go out if I know people who are actually in the water, because I, again, just prefer to feel safe and like, he's got my back, and I'm good to go, you know. So generally, I'll try and get out most times in the evenings to shoot late night, just because that's when a lot of people, again, are off work and able to go out. But absolutely, I'm out there religiously on Saturdays and Sundays and accumulating images and trying to push it. Yeah.
Trying to go
well, the thing too, with that type of shot, I actually, the first time I ever got one of those was in Hawaii. And the way you actually have to do it is dive down underneath and be shooting up. Again, like if you're attempting to try and just get a collection of these images, my advice is absolutely just pick up goggles, because you can just visually see like, okay, fire now, you know, as opposed to just kind of gauging it by that. And some of the best shots I got were actually at Waimea Bay of that spread of the wave crashing over, and you actually see the motion of it. But again, I was like, had the goggles on, was sitting in the shore break, watching the wave go by, and I was like, now. And it was just more repetitive, just kind of like doing that, but you can absolutely achieve it. And again, it's just, you know, what's the location, what's the conditions, and yeah.
Very
Cool.
All right. Well,
Excellent. I also would just like to thank Sammy's camera for putting this together. Thank Mike for contacting me. Zach for being here to hook up the housings, and everyone that just kind of was able to pull this together. And hopefully all of you learned something, all of you online, get the insurance. It's going to save your life. And yeah, I hope you all got something out of this. Thank you.
yeah.